we are again, foreverfootballshow.com. It's been a while. It's been the off season, the same way as the players got their deserved rest. We also had our little off season. Kind of sad to be for so long away from talking about soccer, but here we are again with, as usual, with Filippo Milano and Erin Lane. Jack Hilton is watching us online. He's our special reporter in France to cover the French league. He's going to be a little bit for a while away from Forever Football Show, but always a pleasure to be here with you again. And why don't we start with a little summary of what are the things that were absolutely the best things that happened while we were out and while we were Forever Football Show was on vacation.
Well, for me, just looking forward to the Sounders season starting up again. Sounders were a little off track in the preseason, not getting the results that they really deserved, but finally with the Community Shield they got back on track, so hopefully they continue that trend.
And I hope they save some goals for the season as well, right?
Yeah.
Those are beautifully scored goals.
Yeah, definitely.
Filippo, what was for you?
You know, it's easy to say. I'm following Serie A. Particularly, my team is doing very well Napoli this year, and of course, I'm following all the European team and what's happening in Europe. It's very exciting right now because the Champions League is in one of the most important moments right now. So they are playing for the quarterfinals, and so there is a lot of things going on in Europe right now.
Excellent. Well, for me, I'll pick the retirement of Ronaldo Fenomeno. He was playing for Corinthians, my team in Brazil, and I actually had the chance to go to one of his last few games. All the other times that I went to Brazil, he was not in the roster for some reason, and I missed it. So I finally saw him rolling on the field. He was not playing, literally. But what a great emotion to be able to see that guy play. And then now it's a matter of like all the past. It's not the real. The last few games is not what tells his story.
I think everybody's going to miss him. He's been a very contradictory player, but I think always in the field was very correct. When you compare to Maradona or other players they were not so nice as Ronaldo was, in my opinion. And I think he deserves to be his credit in the history of soccer.
Absolutely, and all the players like when he retired, all the different teams he played. He had this interesting story of playing for the biggest rival teams. He played for both Real and Barcelona, both Inter and Milan, and still all four of them made homage to him in their websites, in the stands, and so the fans were really fans, and all the players who played with him were fans as well in a sense. But so. Those are three big topics and covered very quickly while we were out. This is a good summary. Why don't we start now with the MLS and everything that has ahead of us with the Sounders coming back right now on Tuesday against LA. Aaron, you start as the biggest Sounders fan here.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be a huge game versus LA Galaxy, the team responsible for kicking us out of the playoffs last season.
And for one of the biggest kick in the butt that
our
we got.
bogey team, last year. So, it's a chance for us to start things off right. I feel like if we get a win against LA, it's going to be a huge start to the season. If we get a loss, it's going to,
It's kind of fun that
hurt.
we were all together at your house actually watching the last game of the last season, and it was against Los Angeles Galaxy. And now they have the opportunity to have their revenge, hopefully, with LA Galaxy here in Seattle.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, I'm not considering this a make or break kind of game. We saw in the last two seasons that the MLS is really a very forgiving league. Not that I like that in particular, but it's a fact. Just the opportunity to have so many teams advancing to the playoff, it gives many chances to have bad strikes and just come back.
But actually this year, changing up the playoff format, there'll be less of a chance to go to the playoffs.
Well, because there are more teams as well, right?
So
how many teams go to the playoffs?
Okay, so there's 10 total teams that go to the playoffs.
You're the ones directly hate play.
Yeah, so they have like a playoff round now to get into the playoffs, but instead of it being so all the teams below the top two from each division can be from either one. It's level between the conferences.
It's
More
5-5?
More so. There's still a split. I believe it's the top four from the East, top four from the West, and then the rest play or from just pure rankings.
So that's a penalty
So-
on the West Conference in a sense,
Yeah,
because in the last
so
2 years,
They're-
it was 6 from the West Conference versus 2 of the East Conference.
Yeah, so they're leveling up the conferences a little bit more, which I don't like personally because it's not representative of the teams. It's
Yeah, I don't think why keep doing these conference things in soccer, especially now with more teams. Now they added Portland and Vancouver, and they're in the West Conference, right?
Yeah.
Who,
And
which team passed? Houston passed the East
So
Conference.
they moved Dallas to the Eastern
That's right.
Conference, which is interesting because you have Houston in the West and Dallas in the East.
That's right, the line there in Texas.
Yeah, actually, it's I guess we said that a lot of times, but and we agree about that. The playoff system doesn't work very well at the end of. It's I think that 2 years ago was Real Salt Lake winning the league, and last year was Colorado, right?
Yeah.
And they were a very good team. I can
Yeah.
say they were playing good, but nothing to say compared to New York or LA or Seattle as well. They were playing very well, and they went out because they were facing LA Galaxy. I think there is something that is not working here. They should
Well, the
change
thing
it.
is that from a business perspective and the way that the U.S. market is set up to follow sports, the playoffs is very important. That's when the teams make money. Seattle is different because we keep the stadium filled all year long, but for the other teams, they survive through the season to make money in the playoffs. So it's hard to stop that. I personally think that if there was no playoffs, then the other teams will give more attention to the U.S. Cup, for instance, where they'll have a bracket competition kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think there's some value in the playoffs, but I think it can be, with a single table, or at least treated like a single table, that there can be a little bit more value put to it. And the ranking system, so one plays
That's for sure.
the last.
I totally
instead
agree.
of
And I can
That's
tell you
for
that
sure.
in Italy, actually, I don't know if it's happening also in Brazil or somewhere else, but not for the Serie A, but for the third division, the second division, they are starting in the playoff. But the playoff work in a way that the second one face the first you go directly to Serie A, and the third one face the number 4 in one game, and that's called playoff. And if they tie, they don't go to the penalty kick. It's the one that was third in the season that go directly to
As
Serie
an
A.
advantage.
So it's a very advantage, and then, and it's one game at home for the third position.
Sure.
I think it's something like that, just to give more importance to the league, because as you were saying, it's a very forgiving league, and in the end, it's nice in a way for a team that is not doing well at the beginning, but at the end, it's not right.
So let's take a look at the other games that also. So we play against the LA Galaxy. Let's go through some guesstimates here. What's the result of Seattle and LA?
I'd like to say a win, but I think it's going to be something more like 2-2.
I really hope that Seattle is going to win. I hate LA Galaxy.
Good.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a hard game, and it's going to be a 1-1, if not a 0-0. I think it's going to be hard to. The emotion of the first game again, I think it will play on some of the new players as well, but we'll see. What about some of the other games in this first round? Any other guesses? We have Real Salt Lake playing against Earthquakes, San Jose Earthquakes. That should be an interesting game as well.
Yeah, definitely. Real Salt Lake is a strong team, and San Jose is a team that's strengthened over this last year as well. Chris Wondolowski had a great end of the year last year, so I know there's going to be a lot of eyes on him. So we'll see if he can reproduce some of the magic that San Jose.
So we already picked the result for this game. Let's talk in terms of like overall. First of all, Sounders, go to the playoff or not?
Yeah, I'll say playoffs.
Yeah, I'll say playoffs. too.
I think so.
And who wins it all? Last year was
Uh,
sort of like completely unpredictable. Whoever predicted Colorado in the beginning, it's probably a millionaire now.
Yeah, it's a hard call, but I'll go with either Sounders or New York. I think I can see winning it.
I go for New York this year.
I'm also thinking New York, just because with with the big names that they have and all the investment, all the effort, and now
And they had
in
enough time.
another, yeah, now they have the preseason to really get it going. So I'm going with them.